In Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet, you play as an 11-year-old who just moved to the Paldea region, and instead of beating up Pokémon for a living like a normal protagonist, this idiot wants to get an education at a school. However, they must first make the long and dangerous walk from their home to the academy. So the academy's director gives them a starter Pokémon and introduces them to their neighbor, Nemona, who is already a champion? Except in this region, multiple people can be a champion, so it's lost some of its aura. Nemona is a battle freak and essentially starts a new save file so that she doesn't instantly demolish a child's dreams with a level 87 EV-trained Dusknoir. At a nearby beach, the protagonist finds an injured Pokemon, either Koraidon or Miraidon, but Scarlet was $2 cheaper, so it's gonna be Koraidon. And this trusty steed can be ridden around like a horse. However, unlike in Zelda games, where you can commit vehicular manslaughter on smaller creatures, in this game, anytime Koraidon's toe clips a microscopic, invisible to the human eye floette, you come to an immediate stop and enter into a tedious battle sequence. But to make up for that, you can now unleash your Pokemon and have them auto-sim wild Pokemon battles. Because remembering type matchups is impossible. I'll just let my cat do all the hard work for me. At the academy, Director Clavel asked the students to go on a treasure hunt, where the goal is some lame self-discovery crap, where students must find their own special treasure. Yeah, alright. My special treasure is this flamethrower TM I found in the mud, because it lets me use a 90 power attack on my foes. Happy now? In front of the academy, some loser with an EV backpack is being coerced into joining a clique of delinquents, so the White Knight protagonist steps in to Pokemon battle these bullies. But Nemona is like, you should try this game's gimmick. It's called Terastallization. It changes your Pokemon's type in battle. Let me see. Your water type Arrokuda will become a water type Arrokuda. So basically, I spent the first couple hours of the game confused on what the point of Terastallization is, until I realized my Arrokuda just lost the genetic lottery. The nerd, Penny, is like, please help me put a stop to these 5 high school dropouts who have set up military bases around the region. Yes, my queen, I'd walk over hot coals for you. Hey, how about you help me find and defeat the 5 Titan Pokemons around Paldea? I'm not feeling very motivated. What if I told you I have a sick dog, and the only cure for its illness is inside the layers of each Titan Pokemon? Mark their location on my map right now. We'll defeat those Titan Pokemons, my king. So basically, 2 massive, painstakingly long missions have just been tossed on a dude who just moved here. I mean, I feel like these are problems that could be solved by a champion, but whatever. On the quest for 8 gym badges, the protagonist must complete difficult trials in order to gain the right to battle the gym leaders, which range from you get to be on stream and play Where's Waldo with a streamer, to, yeah, just push the ball into the goal. Ooh, there's no time limit or anything, just like whenever you feel like it. And at the Pokemon League, the player is forced to complete a questionnaire where Game Freak makes sure that you remember the names of their unremarkable towns, and then challenge the Elite Four, which includes esteemed trainers such as Businessman and Toddler, and then the champion, who is somehow more important than the 500 other champions walking around Paldea. And afterwards have a celebratory battle with Nemona in the middle of a highly populated school zone. On the Titan path, Arven and the protagonist chase around large ancient Pokemon until they bash their skull into a wall, opening the path to their secret lair, where inside lies special ingredients that Arven uses to make tasty sandwiches that he feeds to his dog, so that the pooch can regain its 5 senses. I mean, that sounded ridiculous saying it out loud, but it felt perfectly sane when you're playing through the game. On the Starfall path, Penny uses a voice filter to catfish the protagonist in order to have them take down the bosses of Team Star, and then afterwards is like, let me send a guy to deliver your monetary reward. Sup. And once they're all taken care of, Penny reveals herself to be Cassiopeia, the secret leader of Team Star. As it turns out that the Team Star bosses weren't the bullies, they were the bullied. And after they confronted their bullies, the original bullies dropped out of school. So then they looked like the bullies. And so the Team Star bosses started skipping school and wearing clothes that don't follow the school dress code. So Penny used the protagonist to put a stop to her friends, so that they would all go back to being normal students. Remember when evil Pokemon team story plots would involve, like, trying to freeze over an entire continent? And so, after beating up Penny's very aesthetically pleasing but not very competitively viable team of only evolutions, Director Clavel comes in and is like, I'll forgive you delinquents and let you back into my school.
Yay!
But only after you do mandatory community service.
Aww.
And then they all start dressing like normal students and look significantly less cool. The end. Except there's still a big hole in the middle of the region. And at the bottom of the abyss, Arvin's mother is waiting for him. Or his DILF, if you're playing Violet version. So the colorful cast of characters float down on the back of Koraidon, where they discover many ancient Pokemon that would have been sick to capture if we weren't, like, 10 minutes away from the end of the main story. It's then revealed that Arvin's mother created a time machine to send Pokemon from the past into the present. But instead of reproducing and birthing little baby Koraidons, the two beasts tried to kill each other. And Sada lost her life trying to protect the beta male Koraidon, which of course is the one the protagonist ends up with, after it fled from Area Zero. So Sada's robot doppelganger that she created took over running the time machine. Yeah, the plot just gets absurdly sci-fi out of nowhere. I don't know what to tell you. And now our friends want to stop the time machine because the Pokemon from the past are disrupting the current Pokemon ecosystem, which I find hard to believe that a Jigglypuff with a ponytail is disrupting an ecosystem that includes giant water serpents and buff goblins. Is this really that big of a problem? After being defeated in an intense no-items Koraidon-only showdown, the robot sends itself back to the past, to presumably get wrecked by another wild Koraidon, I don't know. Meanwhile, the protagonist takes a field trip to the island of Kitakami, and meets some fellow exchange students from Blueberry Academy. Carmen, who hates foreigners, and Kieran, who hates good haircuts. Well, I guess both of them kind of got some messed up stuff going on up there. And the three amigos travel to visit some lore-revealing signposts scattered around the region, and learn about an Ogre-Pon who was shunned by the people of Kitakami due to a misunderstanding. Kieran is a big Ogre-Pon stan, and so he helps convince the villagers to forgive Ogre-Pon, and is like, now I'll catch Ogre-Pon and I'll raise her and— Hold on, Kieran, you're not the protagonist, I am. Ogre-Pon is mine. A happy ending to this DLC, well, unless you're Kieran, who was so mad that he became a late 90s, early 2000s Pokemon rival and owned the entire Pokemon League of Blueberry Academy, fueled purely by rage at the protagonist's greatness, which unfortunately leads to nothing but another fat L, as the protagonist takes Kieran's spot as champion of his own school. Meanwhile, this blonde lady, Gresha, is like, hey, there's actually another layer below Area Zero, where there resides the hidden treasure of Area Zero. Copyright Nintendo. So the three trainers go down there and find this special Tetra-type turtle fella. And Kieran is like, I missed out on Ogre-Pon, but I'll definitely catch this one. And the creature is like, ew? You're not the protagonist. Please don't talk to me. So Kieran straight up tosses a Master Ball at it and is like, it's not fair that the protagonist just showed up 2 weeks ago, stole the Pokemon I loved most away from me, became the champion of my own school, and literally every single person on the planet loves them more than me. And Carmine is like, Kieran, I mean, yeah, those are all true statements. They are just like way better than you at everything. And then the writers are like, hey, how do we make this into a happy ending? Kieran is kind of right. The protagonist is a Mary Sue. Just like, have him apologize with a sunset in the background. So Kieran apologizes for acting like an irrational baby. And everyone lived happily ever after. Well, except for Kieran, he probably needs to go to therapy. At least the dog didn't die. If you have a game or a series you'd like to see me cover next, then leave it in the comments and I'll try to get to it when I can. Thank you for watching and hopefully I'll see you next time.